In this video, I want to show you how to use virtual backgrounds and how to live edit your scenes by putting inserts into them. Being able to do this can be a really useful skill for live streamers that want to have a more edited live scene, and creators that generally want to make their scenes more interesting. So let's get into the video. So first things first, we'll need to get the background into OBS. If you've been watching this course in its entirety, then you should understand how to do this, but just as a refresher, we'll go down to the Sources tab and click on the plus icon in the bottom left. If the background you want is just a still image, then you should use the image source, but if you're using a background that is a GIF or a short animation, then you should use the media source. Then, you can tweak any settings that are there, match the canvas resolution, and now you have your background to work with. One more thing that I'd like to focus on would be how to insert other things into virtual backgrounds. For example, for a lot of this course, I've been using this background on this computer, and I always have something playing here on the screen, but that is done through the use of inserts. If you take that away and just have the raw background, then you can see that it's just a white screen. All of this editing is happening through OBS, and here I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. So if you right click on the background source and select filters, one of the filter options will be Luma key, and this is what I'm using for this instance. In a lot of ways, Luma key is similar to the color key filter, where by adjusting the options, you can key out certain colors. And this is the effect used to create green screen effects, which I discussed in a previous video. I will start out by using Luma key, as in this example, that is what I'm using for my background. But if your background has a green color instead of a white color that you need to key out, then it might make more sense to use color key, which I will discuss later in this video. So once you've selected Luma key, you'll see a few sliders here. The first is arguably the most important, and adjusting this will change how much you want to be keyed out. It will start with keying out the bright colors and move its way down to the darker colors. Next, we see the smooth slider, and similar to the color key, this will adjust how smooth or jagged the key is. If the slider is set pretty high, then it tries to smooth things out more compared to if the slider was set to a lower position. The last two sliders are essentially the same as the first two, but they work in opposite directions, so the Luma Min slider starts by keying out some of the darker colors before the lighter ones. I mentioned earlier that I did cover the general color key settings in a previous video, but here is a refresher, since it also does have similar applications to this task as well. The color key filter is found in the same place as the Luma key filter, and you can already see that the two filters have a lot in common. At the top here is the color key type, and this will dictate what color OBS will key out. By default, this is set to green, and for green screens, I'd recommend keeping it at the default green, but you can set it to a custom color by choosing from the drop-down. The rest is relatively similar to Luma key. The similarity slider changes how close to the chosen color gets keyed out, and the smoothness slider smooths everything out. Then, at the bottom, you have a few extra slides that adjust how see-through the image is, and the color quality, like contrast, brightness, and gamma. So at this point you should now have your background, and a few parts of it that are keyed out. So now we can add our inserts. In order to add an insert, we'll need to add it as the appropriate source, either as an image, media source, window capture, or other. Then, in order for this to work effectively, it's best to put the insert behind the background so it fits nicely. You can change which sources are more forward than others by what order they're in the sources list. The higher up the list of sources, the further in front it is on screen, so for this we want to put the insert below the background, so it gets put behind the background. Once your insert is on the correct layer, you can resize it and crop it if you need to. An easy way of cropping sources is by clicking on it and holding the Alt key, and there you have a nice virtual background that you can use with something cool inserted into it. Hey, I hope this video helped you. This video was a short clip from my course on OBS, so if you're new to the software, I'd highly recommend checking it out, as it goes into details over many things discussed in this video, as well as some other things such as the interface, the settings, and a lot more. The links to the courses are in the description, so if you decide to check it out, then I greatly thank you. See you across the internet.